Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts,
Archlector George,
and Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
As you all know, we are covering The Blade itself, the first book in the original trilogy. We'll be covering Misery and The Bloody Nine on this episode. So let's get started. Do we have anything to tell the audience? Like, I know we want to thank you guys for your support. We're hopefully you guys have been noticing that we've been expanding our YouTube channel and social media platforms. Right?
with your brilliant skits, Jeff. I had a good little giggle at them, and I hope a lot of other people did as well.
I mean, I don't know about brilliant, but okay.
Yeah, they're pretty funny. So we will be addressing people like whenever people are always asking us, for spoilers specifically or other things en masse, or they're getting frustrated with the way we're speaking. Our Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey will address it in the audience chamber from now on. So,
And I will be fair and impartial.
and not tyrannical in any way.
Not at all. Not at all. And we just released the Long Eye video about Crummicky Fail's potential
Long eye-ness.
Long Eye-ness, connection to the Long Eye. We've done a couple what ifs. George, we got theories. We got things coming out.
And you can find it all on the website, circleoftheworld.com, www.circleoftheworld.com.
Yay, George!
Yeah,
You really
Which is up. I managed to do it, even though I spent half the last week in hospital, so that's nice.
George was out of commission. We
Yeah,
do have the website up. I know he said he's gonna make it like prettier, but it's up. He committed and he made good. He made good on his promise. All right, so let's head to our first chapter read through since the Bloody Nine's a long one. So let's just get going. We start this chapter, which is Misery, from Giselle's perspective. He's out in the court yard waiting for Artie to show up to their regular meeting spot. And he's out here bitching about having to wait for her.
What a man!
What a class act. What a class act. He could see the House of the Maker from his peripheral vision, and his memory took him back to that unpleasant visit. He's like, fuck that place and fuck my ass.
I love that when he's like waiting for her to, he's just like, it's bad enough that he had to wait for her notes.
Yeah.
It's bad enough that building's just there. Ugh.
He is. Oh, what a miserable little bastard.
Yeah. Self-righteous asshole. I know. Then he sees someone with a cloak walking towards him, and he just knew it was her with the way she walked. So he, huh?
I just Artie is like everybody's like, yeah, she's pretty hot.
Uh-huh.
I bet it's just he's like, oh, that's her walk right there. It's like
Oh,
one of those
yeah.
things you notice.
I mean, that is true. Like, when you get to know someone that well, you kind of do notice those little things.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And they actually think that the way you walk, your gait, is actually more of an identifier for people than your actual face.
Interesting.
So
that's interesting.
you don't think about it, but that is the first thing that you notice about people.
Well, their approach,
Mm.
and sometimes I feel like it's not even just the gait; it's like the way they look around. They look at things.
Yeah, like
Like-
general mannerisms and things like that.
Okay. Look at that. George dropping that little bit of knowledge. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Totally unverified. I might have just made that up. So
He might- Anything that comes from the Archlector's mouth is fact. Anyone says otherwise gets put in
Off
chains.
with their head. I mean, a confession must be written.
A confession must- Oh my god. All right. So then Giselle walks up to Artie. He meets her halfway, and she lowers her hood, and he was shocked to see the giant bruises on her face. And she's, testy about it, understandably so. And Giselle wasn't so sure how to proceed. It's funny here that he notes that the bruises should have disgusted him, but instead he wanted to comfort her.
Yeah.
Then
I like how he's
Aw.
surprised by this.
I'm
He's
kind.
like, wait, do I care about her?
I'm kind. Well, he admitted to himself that he loves her. What was it? A couple chapters ago when the other dudes were just basically shitting on him.
Yeah, he's just like, he's like, oh, what happened and stuff, and she's like, I fell down some stairs. Whatever, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
She's like, it's okay. I've only been beat my whole childhood. It's not a big deal, Giselle. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to talk about it, and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to, like you said, proceed. And he also noted that there were people around. I guess it's a different time of day or night, and Giselle wonders aloud if maybe they were taking a risk, right? Due to Major West. And she basically said, "Man, fuck Column." I was like, "Oh."
Yeah,
He won't
honestly,
do anything,
yeah,
the little bitch. I've had a word with him.
I might have had these bruises, but I also had the last word.
She's like,
See the other guy.
You should see the other guy. He's emotionally distraught for the entire rest of the series. The bastard.
I win.
Oh god, we're gonna get cancelled for this. Oh my god.
What? No. What? Are we?
No, I'm joking.
What did it say?
Jeff like, oh god.
No.
So,
But yeah, she said fuck Column, and then she makes a comment about how, like, oh, if she didn't see Giselle, then he might have left for England without saying anything. And Giselle gets all immediately defensive and flustered. He's like, I wouldn't. And then he's kind of awkward, right? He asks her if she'll wait for him until he returns. And then she's like, well, I'll still be here. But, either way, you'll probably still forget all about me, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, no. And he grabs her. He's like, no way. And then he launches into this whole thing where he says that he knows he's an ass. And he knows that Artie thinks the same. And that he thinks about her all the time. And he thinks he loves her.
Just laughs at it.
And and then Artie just laughs at him, and she calls him an ass, and that's it. His world is crushed. The walls are closing in around him. Captain Luthor is crying.
I love this delivery from Spacey as well. It's just like despair. He was utterly crushed.
Yeah, and I really like this part too, because I remember the first time reading it, I was like almost giddy that she laughed at him, because it's like he almost he doesn't deserve to get I get the girl now,
Mm-hmm.
She's just got like completely other different priorities. He's like living in fairy tale land where he's like, oh, I'm a captain, and there's this peasant girl who I'm going to sweep away, and she's living in the real world, where she's like, okay, yeah, that's funny, but we don't really have time for that. And
she has her own. She has agency. She's independent. She's not like a badly written female character that just fawns over this kind of the character that Giselle is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's crying, right? And then I guess she lets him cry for a bit, and she's like, I'll wait. And then now he's happy crying. Listen, our boy is sprung, right? He's just sprung. That's an old reference to being smitten.
Jesus, how old are you, Jeff?
I've never heard that before, Jeff.
You've never listened to T-Pain? I'm sprung. All right, whatever.
I've heard it, Jeff.
All right, whatever.
You killing George?
Sorry.
So she's like, I'll wait, and Giselle's like, all right, well, goodbye, and he's like wanting a kiss and stuff, and they finally depart, and he gets to the ship where everybody's leaving for England now. The ships are getting up on the way, the army is moving. And I love that line where he's up on the boat, and everyone was like, all right, here we go, guys. And he's like, what was wrong with him? Why did he tell her to wait? Who knows if he'd even return? He's just like, what was he thinking? Why did he say all that?
Because he's cursed with love.
And they don't really talk long before there's a Knight's Herald.
Before you get there, can we just point out that Giselle's so in his head, right? That Caspa who's next to him. He goes like, oh, it's quite a sight to see. And then Giselle doesn't hear that correctly. And he thought that he said, I'd like to see Artie. And so then Caspa's like, listen, he backs away. He's like, I just said it's quite a sight to see.
I love that bit.
He's like, what did you say?
He's like, oh, shit.
Artie what?
Artie who? See what?
That is a good bit.
So a Knight's Herald comes up. A Knight's Herald is like the king's messengers. They deliver the king's direct word and everything, and they're usually like veterans and stuff. He comes up, and he's like, Giselle and Luthor, you need to come with me immediately. And everyone else is like, oh, he's in trouble. And he gets off the ship, follows the Knights Herald all the way back to the Agriont, where he meets with Lord Chamberlain Hoff and I almost said Jeffrey. And
No, what you before he meets Lord Chamberlain? Not even Lord Chamberlain Hoff. He doesn't meet them.
No, he meets Sulfur at the gate first, doesn't he? And he's just
oh,
like, again.
I forgot about Sulfur standing there.
Yeah, he meets Sulfur first, and then he meets the Morovia Varus. You know, Hoff is not there. But
And I just love Sulfur as like this exposition vessel that he's been this entire fucking this entire book. He's just like, hey, this thing happens in the next chapter, or you know,
you know, Giselle.
and everyone's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You know, when Giselle first sees him, he's like, oh, not this crazy motherfucker again.
He's like, hey, Captain Luthor.
The edge of the world. I envy you.
Yeah.
And Giselle's just like, what is he talking about?
Like, I'm quite glad. He's like, aren't you glad you never quit? And he was like, I told you.
He's like, that's right. Because of me, you didn't quit. That's right. And Giselle's like, what the fuck?
Never a moment of peace, hey, Captain.
And then he makes it to the office and he enters, right? Because Sulfur goes his own way. And at his own desk, there's the High Justice, right? Lord Marshal Varus and Baez. And I like this because Baez straight up turns into a grandpa. He walks up to Giselle, puts a hand on his shoulder, leads him into the room, and he sits on the table like, you know, a grandpa would. It was like talking to a kid. All right, so here's what's gonna happen. And then what else he says? He says, oh, that Baez and a group of people of quality are going on a grand voyage. And Giselle's just like,
I don't like this where this is going.
but he's like, what does this have to do with me?
Yeah. I can just imagine him sort of like slowly edging his chair away and like going towards the door. Like, I just, I don't like this.
Right. And I like how it's not like Baez doesn't say, I want you to come with me. He says, well, we're short a man. And then Giselle's just like, huh.
I see.
Oh, no.
And I like how this is a great trope of you thinking that he can say no, and he's just like, well, you know, you kind of have to, so.
Yeah, right? Because Baez is all talking of Giselle's skills, but, you know, Giselle, he declines. He says, oh, I have to go north. I have to go north. But Moravia's like, that ship's already sailed, buddy. So.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you're screwed. You have to go now. Sorry, punk.
And it's like, it's important for Giselle, like it's important to the Union that Giselle accompanies Baez on this journey with his pack of savages.
Yeah, he's like, there are other ways to serve your country other than fighting in some war.
Right.
Oh, he actually doesn't he also actually say being one of a corpse in a pile?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
And that's quite a, you know, that's like a very blunt thing to say about all of his friends that are just going off to war.
Right, you know, I could say confidently at this point, yeah, you know, Baez is like, yeah, I mean, it's another war, but he's seen a lot of wars. He knows how the casualties, you know. He doesn't want Giselle. He's trying to express to Giselle, hey, buddy, like, war's pretty bad, you know? Like, you know, it's blunt and brutal, but also it's very true that he could just end up dead because it is war.
And I think that brings the chapter to the end. He just gets sent miserably back off to...
regretting all of his life's choices.
And there is that little Hobbit reference where he's like, and back, of course.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Like, that's what I thought. Was that Lord of the Ring reference?
I mean, it must be.
Yeah,
there
it's
and back
gotta be,
again.
right?
To
those Jordan back, I hope. It's like, oh.
It adds the different twist on it, you know, instead of being like, oh, we're going on this grand quest, and and back, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not even an issue. Of course, we're definitely coming back. So what do you rate that chapter, guys?
Honestly, I think I'm gonna give it a. I think I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 9. I think it's probably one of my least favorite chapters in the blade itself, just simply because it's like something happens, but you know, there's compared to the other chapters that are right in here too. It feels like it's just like I always forget this even happens. I feel like because. He like meets with Artie, and then Artie's like, there's not much progression there. He's just like, will you wait for me? And she's like, I guess. And then he goes to the ship, and then he gets off the ship, and then he goes here, and then he just gets told this is what's happening. There isn't as much subtlety here. there isn't as much character work as there is in other ones. There is, of course, some, and he really the only thing that it serves is to show, oh, here we go, Giselle's stuck, with the other people. So of course it's still an amazing chapter of an amazing book, but I think it's probably out of the entire series, it's probably one of my least favorite ones.
I think you're exactly right, Harrison. I'm going to give it a 3 for that reason. 1 extra because there are quite a few funny lines. But you're absolutely right. This could be anywhere in the books. Giselle's climax, his story climax, is pretty much over at this point for this book.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit extra, isn't it? This could easily be at the beginning of the next book, and we wouldn't really notice that much.
Right. Or they could even reference it and backtrack it,
Exactly, yeah.
Jeff?
I'll give it a 3 and a knuckle. Just nothing happens. I mean, the reason I gave it like an extra knuckle or whatever, it's just because the comedy aspects of it all. Like,
it's pretty funny.
Just Giselle just being shat on left and right in terms of romance and what's the word I'm looking for? As professional opportunities, we'll say. Yeah, it's just being shat on left and right. Sulfur's there to just haunt his travelings through the Agriant. I just, that's funny to me. But other than that, I mean, not much happens. I do like that his climax, like you said, basically his climax. Actually, his climax isn't necessary. It's here in like the thematic sense, where it's like he works so hard to be the winner of the contest, to gain all this acclaim, this attention, this fame, this prestige, and no one gives a shit about him at his own celebration dinner, right? And he's being sent off on some journey with an old madman that took him inside the house of the maker and terrified him for about at least 3 weeks. Like, this is it. That's his for this book. That's his arc for this book.
There is one element of aspect, as like you said, Jeff, it plays into the overall theme of it, that we've gone from Giselle believing that he is in a position of authority and power and wealth, to being a person of very little agency at this time. He's basically at the whim. His love is at the whim of the girl. His and I really like that it's flipped the head on it. They flipped the trope on its head, where we have this young captain who, he becomes a better person, but he's still in charge. He's still got this way about him. He still knows what he's doing. And by the end of it, he's a slightly better person, but he has lost all agency. He doesn't get to make any of his own choices. And now he's realizing that he doesn't get to. But like you said, George, I feel like that was already kind of occurred. This is just like the climax of that realization.
Right.
So, yeah, all in all, a thoroughly disappointing chapter. So moving on.
Disappointing for Giselle.
Yeah.
So our next segment is Best Meme of the Week. George, take it away.
So this week we've got, again, not user XLRIV48, and we're going to put this on the website and in the link to the description. And it's actually a very fitting one for this week, although I'm not going to spoil it right here. So after you've seen this episode, go and check out that meme.
Yeah, it's a quick note for me. It's nice to say that it's on our website now. That's nice to hear.
Yes, so if you want to see any of our previous memes of the week without having to go back and click on each individual one, they're all up there. It's all nice and convenient.
Yeah.
It is a
not
spoiler,
for me, because I had to make the fucking thing, but
So
I was just going to say, it is a spoiler, but it does have to do with the Bloody Nine, which is the next chapter.
Yeah, it how do we say this? It strikes a thematic connection to this episode. It's appropriate, and it's just nice to see, right? This meme is just nice to look at.
Yeah. So thanks for that, XLRIV48, which is the hardest name to pronounce in the world. So
Say it 4 times fast.
So we'll be moving on to our second and last chapter read through. We'll be doing this like in one go because it's so long, and the character spot is related to somebody in this chapter, so we'll be doing that near the end, as well as a community interaction segment. So, second chapter, The Bloody Nine. Bum, bum, bum.
Jeff's favorite chapter.
Yeah. So we start this chapter from Logan's perspective. They're in the living quarters, and he's excited to be leaving this city that is too hot, too big, and just stinks of piss. He sees Giselle just staring out the window, pale as shit. And Logan decides to strike up some conversation with him in order to build trust, since, he knows that they're going on a journey and that might be dangerous, so you need to build trust for something like that. Walks up to Giselle, and he's like, hey, man, your home is beautiful.
So what do you know about it?
Yeah, Giselle's not having any of it.
Oh god, I love how Logan really does go out of his way to be nice. Like he's like, "Oh, I've got some extra humor to spare today. Let's go and have a chat with this fella." And he just basically tells him to fuck off. And he's like, "Oh,
He's like, all right." Yeah, he abandons that effort, and then he goes over to Kwai. He's like, all right, fuck this. And then Kwai is oddly not as receptive. He just doesn't even seem excited to be going home, the old Empire, because Logan asked him about it. Yeah. And Kwai goes into a straight depressing monologue about how the old Empire is all fractured and doom and gloom. And Logan's he tries to give him some hope, but there's no hope for Kwai, apparently. Jeez.
Yeah, no. I love that line as well. It's like, you could tell me, he said Logan, hoping to hear something about peaceful valleys, cities. And he's like, it's bloody, it's lawless, and life is cheap as dirt. And Logan's just like, oh.
Oh, not this. That's what the North is. I'm used to that. Yeah. And then Baez comes into the room, and he sees that Pharaoh isn't there. So he's pissed. He's pissed that Kwai didn't keep her there. And he sends Logan to find her and bring her back, since they need to be leaving soon. And Logan's just like, oh, that's easier said than done with this one. And then a bit of a time skip later, right? And Logan's in the street, and he's pressed up against the wall, and he sees that Pharaoh's down the street a little bit, and she's surrounded by 3 practicals. It seems like they want her to go with them quietly, and obviously Pharaoh isn't known for her compliance.
I love how Baez basically just suggests to pick her up and bring her back, and he's like, oh, I wouldn't want to try it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that classic thing. It's like, oh, just big guy, go get that small woman. But I like how even Logan's like, she's not gonna come forward.
He's like, I think I'd rather just piss you off, Baez, than deal with that. But
yeah.
And Logan's over here. He's looking at the situation, assessing it, and he's thinking what he should do. Should he go back and get Baez in them? When Pharaoh makes the first move for everybody and jumps on one of the practicals and starts wailing on him. And so then the 4 of them start fighting and wrestling. So Logan has no choice but to charge. The 2 of them finally have a grip on Pharaoh, and they put, yoke her against the wall. And the 3rd dude is about to crack her shit with like that billy club that they have. Mm-hmm. And when Logan comes out of nowhere, he belts out a roar and he just crashes into him. You got to imagine this guy's perspective. Like this giant Northman out of nowhere just shoulder checks you.
Yeah, this well over 6 foot tall man who is buff as hell, and it also looks super intimidating, not because of the size, but he's all scarred up and shit. And and this guy goes flying. He just wipes these guys out like almost like a pro boxer.
Yeah.
Just it's some judo. He just like punches a guy twice in the face, knocks him out, flips another guy over.
Pharaoh takes out the 3rd guy by smashing his head into the road. And Logan's all, yo, what the fuck, bro? And, bro, what the fuck? And Pharaoh says that she didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I was just here. And then they see 3 more practicals running towards them. So like, fuck. And now they both got to run. And they're running through the streets. Logan, it's like a very comedic movie moment where like Logan crashes into a dude that just steps out of a doorway with a bunch of papers.
I love that he adds these little details in there just to be like, woohoo! It's like a chase scene. No.
And then Pharaoh, she gets him up. She tells him to move. Let's hurry up. And so they're running, and Pharaoh isn't breathing hard at all, while Logan's about to have a hernia. And they finally somehow ended up in the arena where the contest was held. The stands were in the process of being taken down, like there were carpenters on them, removing planks of wood and shit. Pharaoh starts running in one direction, but then she comes right back saying, "Not that way."
It's also like a classic chase scene.
Exactly.
No.
There's a lot of Scooby-Doo moments in this.
Yes, I love it. And then, because Logan sees like 5 more practicals where the direction she was originally running towards, and one of them we could tell is Vitari. And she's giving orders to the others to kind of surround them. And then we switch back to Giselle's point of view. Baez is pissed, and Giselle feels it more whenever Baez walks near him. And Giselle's like, this is weird. Baez declares that he will be taking a bath. And Giselle's just like, oh boy, okay. and he's just not having a good time. He's hating the company he's currently with. He's wishing he was with his friends, and he's just, his life is awful to his mind. He's just, oh, this sucks. And then we go back to Logan, and he's in the middle of getting his ass whipped, but he's able to get his hands on basically a 2x4 with and he takes out the nearest practical. Someone hits him in the head from behind, and when he can focus again, it's Vitari. So he stumbles into her, and they're wrestling and fighting. She's punching him in the ribs. So then Logan's just like, fuck this. He grabs her arm that has the billy club, pins it behind her back, and grabs her other arm too. He slowly bends her backward over his knee. And then he collects both her hands in one of his, and then he just straight up mollywops her right in the stomach. And then he tosses her aside, and she starts yakking. She starts vomiting through the mask. Like, bleh.
That, I mean, that is such a badass move, and also it is. Can you imagine being Vitari? You find yourself, I think, a capable warrior, but this guy, not only is he capable, but he's probably 4 times her strength. And Vitari's not a small woman either, but this guy is huge, and she goes in to wipe him out, and he grabs it, and just pure strength alone holds both of your arms behind your back and just raises his huge fist and wham right into your gut. Oh my god, like that. I've been punched in the gut before, and it hurt like hell. Imagine being bent over and then with a fist like Logan. Probably 4 times as strong. That would ruin me.
That would ruin anybody, honestly.
Yeah. I like how he does go for the non-lethal most of the time in this fight as well.
He tries his best.
Yeah, for a little while more anyway.
A little while.
Well, I will say this too though with him is that he doesn't have any weapons. I think if he had a knife at this point, he would be doing a bit more damage. But you would have to choke her out.
That takes time.
He's just trying to. That takes time. He grabs the 2x4 and he hits people. I wonder if he's breaking some faces and stuff. But he doesn't have any weapons. I think you're right, George, that he isn't trying to kill people, but at the same time, he also doesn't have any quick means of doing it.
No quick methods of dispatching people. That's right.
Sure, but you could still punch in the throat rather than punch in the gut. I think it's a lot of.
You can always do that.
No, I definitely agree. He's not trying to kill anyone because you're right. He could just do the whole. He just hits her right in the neck and crushes her windpipe easily. You're right. But I also like how tired he is in this whole running chase scene.
Yeah,
because it fits really well. Because Pharaoh has just now gotten back from Kanta. She not only is she just more dexterous anyway, she's more spry, and she spends a lot of her time in the past running anyway. So she's really good endurance and she's really quick. Whereas Logan, he's quick, he has a ton of endurance, but at the same time, he's used to fighting, not running like that, and he has been sitting on his ass for probably 4 months at least, and so he is kind of out of shape, the groove here. Yeah,
and we know
I like that detail in there,
right? And we know Pharaoh doesn't feel pain or get tired, generally speaking, right?
Right.
You always said that, I think. Before.
Not like normal people.
Not like normal people. And so he takes a moment to survey the scene, and all 5 of the practicals, they're down, with Pharaoh kicking one of them still. She's like, fuck you, fucker. It's like, okay, all right. But now there are more coming towards them. So they start climbing up the stands. Pharaoh, she traverses the stands gracefully, and Logan's out here tripping and scrambling and crawling over the benches. They get to the top, where it's only the supports exposed, and they're basically tight-roping over these narrow beams. Pharaoh had already jumped off and landed on a nearby roof, and Logan's all nervous about it, but he jumps, and he kind of makes it, but barely. He reaches the ledge of the parapet, but he's just hanging off the side of the building. He's whispering for help, but is there any help coming, really? Then a practical must have fallen too, because he heard a fading scream. He's like, oh, it's about to be over for me. But then suddenly Pharaoh grabs his wrist and starts to pull him up. He's flabbergasted at the fact that he didn't fall. But Pharaoh doesn't give him some time to think about it, because he thought Pharaoh wouldn't have saved him, right?
I like this whole scene right here with the running, because it's like a pause in the physical violence, but it still keeps up the tension, because running across boards hundreds of feet in the air is absolutely terrifying. And Logan is very self-aware in this moment. He's almost like the reader because he's like, oh, how fitting that he would be falling just like he was earlier in the book.
Right. Right.
And
no water to save him this time.
Nope.
Yeah. I just like that it's drawn out right here, the whole little scene up on the boards, how he's like falling and he's falling, and it's not over quick, how it's a moment where she doesn't have to help him.
Yeah.
And it's, even though we don't get Pharaoh's perspective here, I really like that we can kind of tell, like, she hasn't really helped anybody this entire book. She's like, fuck you guys. But here, she actually does reach down, and it's a good character moment for her in the book as well.
They're still running, right? They start running again, and they can see Vitari and the other practicals down there, and they're trying to follow along. And so they climb another wall to cross another roof. At this point, we come back to Giselle's point of view, and now Brother Longfoot makes an appearance, and he's wondering what's the holdup. And he's like bitching about like being late, but then he notices that something's wrong with Giselle. And he guesses that Giselle's having women issues, and that Giselle doesn't know how to respond. He's like, he tries to divert. And he's like, I don't want to talk about this forbidden love. And so he asks out loud, like, what's taking Logan and Farrell so long? And Longfoot is like, he makes a joke about them banging. He's all like wiggling his eyebrows and stuff. Like,
he's like, oh, maybe they're doing it too.
He elbow nudges, like, that. And Giselle's just like, blech, this is disgusting.
It's so funny that Giselle's grossed out by this. He's like, oh, he can't even stand the thought of two, like, quote unquote savages having sex. Yeah. It's just like so disgusting.
And so then we come back to Logan's perspective, and he and Pharaoh, they run and they climb across the roofs consistently, and he notes that the view would have been peaceful if it wasn't for Pharaoh, because she's out here just cursing him and urging him to hurry the hell up and calling him a pink all the while. And at some point he asks for clarification that, like, hey, you can't see colors, right? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, so why do you call me pink? She asks him, well, are you pink? He looks at his arm and he kind of frowns, and then she goes, thought so, bitch. And he's like, all right. So they keep running until they get to the edge of a building, and they have to jump across. Again, Pharaoh, she flies across gracefully, like an eagle. Fly like an eagle. And it's Logan's turn. He jumps, and he lands on his feet. Right next to Pharaoh. Look at that.
You knew the sound, George?
Like, aha! And then it just...
Yeah. Then the floor gives out. And then they both fall like onto a bed. And then Logan laughs because he is like, oh, it's been a while since I had a woman in bed. And then Pharaoh's like, motherfucker. They scramble up. The door's locked, but Logan fixes it by barreling right through it. And he crashes to the floor because he, obviously just took down a door. Pharaoh runs past him, and Logan takes his time getting up, and he grabs a piece of wood that came out from the door frame with like nails sticking out. Then he sees Vitari walking towards him. It's round two. And this time, she has some weapon where there's a handle that has a chained like knife apparatus attached to it. And she's out here just lighting him up. And she gets in, and then he gets in close, and during the time when they're wrestling, she gets on his back and she starts pulling the chain like around his neck. Luckily, he's able to get his hand in front, but she's pulling that thing tight. It gets to the point where Logan can't really reach her, but the grip is getting tighter. So he does the smart thing. He basically just falls backward and crushes Vitari. And then he gets loose enough to turn around. He starts choking her, but then she gets a finger in the nose. This is great stuff right here.
I like how, like, kind of like the previous scene, how he takes his time, how instead of it being like some kind of quick, like, oh, back, forth, this one slows down the action, and it's like them slowly struggling against each other. She's on his back, and she's more limber, but then he like does a sumo move and slams her down to the ground, and then she's like, oh yeah, and then she sticks his finger up, slowly going up his nose. It's like disgusting, really brutal, but also extremely entertaining, and it's different from the fast like punch, throw, punch, throw. And I really liked how the action changes so much in this chapter from scene to scene.
Right.
but it's still high pace.
Right. Right. And they both stagger up like after this little nose finger action. But he still has a grip on the chain, so he yanks her, right? He pulls on the chain towards him, and her body comes flying towards him, and then he just knees her right in the ribs, and then he just yeets her down the stairs. Yeet. And then he decides that, I'm not gonna go down there and finish the job, whatever, I'm done. So he just moves along. He has a twisted ankle somehow through all this. Pharaoh finds him, and they proceed down like more corridors when the practicals find them and they start to close in. So they run into a nearby room with an adjacent door, and they shut it by dragging a big ass cupboard or a cabinet in front of it. So then once Logan's able to kind of get his bearings, they see that it's a big ass room, but it's just a room. There's no other way out. And Pharaoh doesn't appreciate this. She obviously lets Logan know. She gives Logan a piece of her mind. But Logan sees the great sword on the wall, so he's like, "Fuck this!" He runs towards it. He takes a hold of it, and he turns around in time to see the practicals they force the door open and they start pouring into the room. And we could see that one of them is Halim, one of Goyle's exotic practicals. That he picked up on his journeys around the world.
Mm. His Cantic one, specifically the one that has the two knives. He's like he looks like it's almost like the stereotypical like, oh, I got these knives, better watch out.
Yeah, like flicking them around, doing the flourish.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Logan notices that these practicals are armed to kill this time. There's no billy clubs.
And that's the other reason why, too, I think you're right, George, that he wasn't trying to kill him because they weren't trying to kill him yet.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like, fuck it.
He's like, oh, here we go.
And so he's just got this basically big iron bar. He's just swinging it around like, fuck that.
Oh, Logan?
Yeah.
Logan's the great sword, you mean? Yeah. Because it's not sharp at all. It's a dull sword.
It's probably not even real in the first place. It's just like an ornament. And he's just like swinging it around.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Like, oh, that, some rich old person is like, oh, that was Harrod's sword at one point. I swear, it was passed down from my forefather. It's just a piece of iron,
yeah. So they have a bit of a Mexican standoff moment, right? And then Logan charges. He's able to drive one away, but then another.
It's so brutal.
What?
I just saying it's so brutal when he imagine that sword that he doesn't even pierce the skin; it just flattens people. Like the tip, just slices through not because it's sharp, but because it's just the tip of it, and it's going so fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
it's brutal.
Yeah, it's rough.
So he he drives away one practical, but then another one closes in with an axe. It's all chaos. Logan is swinging the sword. He's trying his best, but he's so goddamn exhausted, right, from all the running and everything. The practicals keep spilling into the room, and they keep spilling into the space between Logan and Pharaoh. And Logan catches a knee to the stomach for his troubles from one of these guys, and he stumbles backwards, and he slips to a knee. This might be it for our boy. But something's up. His vision is blurry. There's a cold feeling coming from his stomach. And he knows what it is. He whispers a denial. He's free of someone, but it was futile. Because though Logan might have stumbled to his knees, Logan is here no more. And the Bloody Nine has arrived. And the Bloody Nine kneels to no man.
Ooh.
Oh boy. Here we get a sense of something's different.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
There's never been anything like this in the entire chapter before. And we've the entire book preceded this even.
Yeah.
But
right, for how long we've been with Logan, right?
Yeah, but we've heard about it. We've heard about the Bloody Nine so many times, and then just to see it put on page, oh, this is the guy.
Right. Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. Because he never refers to himself as the Bloody Nine prior to this, No. He's always just the Bloody Nine. Ugh. But nope, the Bloody Nine is here. He climbs up, he takes in his surroundings, and he sees the men, but really they're just corpses. And the first fucker to open his taunting mouth gets his knees cut out from under him with that dull sword. And
oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And then the Bloody Nine feels a prick in his back, but all it does is tell him where the next target is. So he swings that sword in an arc, and it just plowed into the next man's guts and just launched him into the wall. And then a knife flies through the air, and it penetrates his shoulder. That means nothing to the Bloody Nine. He looks, and it's Halim, the practical Goyle's like special practical. He's the culprit, and he's all smiling. But that was a mistake. He throws another knife, but it misses the Bloody Nine, and he jumps over the table, separating them, and he starts swinging. Halim dodges the first one, the second one, but the third one catches him just at the edge of his ribs, which was enough to make him scream.
Oof.
And then the last swing takes off half his goddamn head.
Oof. And knowing that it's blunt as well, that's not a good way to go.
No, it's not. And then
Yeah, it's
go ahead.
it's just so like I like how this scene plays out with him. You know, it's written brilliantly. How he's like oh, it means nothing. But how intimidating would that be? You know, you've been fighting this old Northman, and he's just like he starts like going crazy. He starts wiping people out. Somebody stabs him in the back. He doesn't even flinch. He just wipes that guy out. You throw a knife at him. It goes fully into the shoulder, and the guy just looks at it and looks at you, and he's like, it just fucking charges at you. And then you think he's all worn out and stuff. Like, oh, I got this guy. And he's got all of his energy back. And he's swinging even harder than he was before and going even faster than he was before. Oh, that's so scary, man. I hate fighting him.
And then here, like, he has like a sixth sense. You know, he instinctively rolls away as another practical tries to take a stab at him. But the Bloody Nine's too fast, and he catches his hands in one hand and slams them against the wall. How dare they send weak shits like this one to fight the Bloody Nine? And he basically turns that guy's own sword towards him slowly and just stabs him with it. And then he twists the blade. And then Logan might have pitied this guy, but the Bloody Nine has no pity. Stab, cut, slash, and smile, because that's important too. You have to smile. Smile for the cameras. And the man's cries, because, you know, obviously he's screaming his lungs out, they ebbed away, and the Bloody Nine just let his carcass drop. That one practical that had his legs all mangled is crawling and moaning, and so the Bloody Nine puts an end to that. And he looks around for more, because there's always more. And he sees a woman, a dark-skinned woman with a scar across her face. She wasn't dressed like the other enemies, but everyone who lives are enemies to the Bloody Nine. And so he creepy towards her, you know, but and there's a voice in his head that says, she's on his side. But to the Bloody Nine, it matters not.
Shame.
What a shame. But then a voice comes from the doorway, and it asks if the Bloody Nine's a northerner, eh? And Bloody Nine answers, aye, and he looks around, and this guy is a big one. But it mattered not to the Bloody Nine, because he breaks all men. Duru was bigger, Three Trees was tougher, Black Dow was more savage. This man meant nothing. This man calls himself Stone Splitter, more like Stone Shitter! And then he goes, because he says his name doesn't matter because, and he does the hand gesture, which I love, where, you know, he looks through the gap where his middle finger used to be, with like through his eyes, and he's like, the Bloody Nine. And then Stone Shitter throws his mask off, and he's like, no way, Jose. You're not the Bloody Nine. There's plenty of men in the North without a finger. They're not all 9 fingers. No, only me. It's like, oh, shit. And so Stone Shitter, right, doesn't believe him.
Yeah, I like how he takes out the mask. It's like a disgrace. It's like dishonorable because, you know, whether it be a bad reputation or not, it's like if somebody was like, you know, I am this person. And it's like, no, you're not. And it's like disrespectful to their culture to say that you're a named man of extreme renown, even if he is a bad man, because it's like insulting. And I feel like that's why he took it off, because he's like, oh, really? Really? You think you're some hot shit? You fucking scarred little bastard. Come here. I'm going to kill you. Yeah, that's disrespectful, even if the Bloody Nine is an ass.
That's true. And so obviously Stone Shitter doesn't believe him, and the Bloody Nine, he just laughs at him because he's the one that does the killing around here.
I love that. Like, I'll kill you. No, I'll kill you. It's so silly.
It is. And then Stone Shitter charges at him with both his axe and his mace. He's swinging furiously, but the Bloody Nine, he slips and he dodges. He's Muhammad Ali, you know. And go ahead.
I was gonna be like, yeah, he actually says that in the book.
Float like a butterfly.
He's fucking Bloody Nine's like, I cannot be touched. I am Muhammad Ali.
shit, that's funny. And during one of these like slips and these dodges, the Stone Shitter's axe gets lodged in the wall. The Bloody Nine swings his sword, breaks the haft into pieces. The Stone Shitter swings the mace even more furiously, and the Bloody Nine disarms him too. But then Stone Shitter keeps coming forward, so he bear hugs the Bloody Nine. And so I guess that's it, right? I mean, Stone Shitter has him in his grasp. But that was a mistake because the Bloody Nine cracks him with a headbutt. A little bit of slack, another headbutt. And now it's like the crash of rams. Again, by this time, now the Bloody Nine is holding Stone Shitter up because he keeps headbutting him. He's just thrashing the brunt of his brow into the face of this unworthy victim. 9 headbutts in total, which I think is poetic. And the face of this nobody is mangled beyond all recognition. And then
he's like a woodpecker pecking.
Billy Goat charges. And the Bloody Nine just lets him collapse onto the floor. And the room spins. And the Bloody Nine stumbles a bit to his knees. But no, there's more. There's always more. More people, more bodies, more death. But his time was coming to a close. And then Logan falls down screaming in pain. He's like, ah!
He's like, I've been stabbed like 6 times.
Like, what happened? He's bleeding all over and he's coughing up blood. And so Pharaoh comes out of nowhere. She clasps her hand over his mouth and she's like, shut the fuck up. Shut up or I'm going to leave you here. But she doesn't leave him and she helps lift him up and they have some trouble, right? You know, Logan slips a bit, whatever. And she, you know, she's like, one chance or I leave you. And they walk out of the room together. So then we come back to Giselle's point of view. And he sees that Longfoot is still fussing. You know, he's half hoping that Giselle's half hoping that the trip ends before it even starts, right?
You can still get back to England in time.
Yeah, but the door flings open and his hopes are crushed because Logan and Pharaoh, they basically collapse into the room. Pharaoh's able to scramble away, but Logan, he's in bad shape. He ain't moving. And Vitari kind of like just sidles into the room, followed by 2 practicals. And Vitari tells Pharaoh, hey, you're coming with us. And Pharaoh, of course, says, fuck off. Yeah. And Giselle's like, oh, this bitch is getting us into trouble. I can't have this. So he unsheathes his sword because he's thinking he's gonna help the practicals by knocking Pharaoh in the back of the head. But Vitari sees this and she thinks that he's gonna defend Pharaoh. So she's like, drop your sword. And now Giselle's offended. He's like, how dare you think I'm on Pharaoh's side? No, I'm not dropping the sword.
And he's like, and that's why he keeps it up is because he's offended, not because he's actually thinking about what it means. Yeah. He's like, hey, wait a minute.
What the fuck? And then, you know, Pharaoh's defiant, Logan's immobile, Kwai and Longfoot, they're just backing away. They're like, it's not looking good. But then the bathroom door bangs open, and Baez is standing there buck-ass naked. And he yells out, what the fuck is this?
It's so fucking funny. I mean, there's like some gruesome parts in this chapter. There's really good action, and then whenever there is a joke, just like the rest of the series, it's a banger. He opens the door. It's so physical. He's just a butt-ass naked old man. Everyone's like, what? And he's like, what? And everyone's just sitting there staring at each other. And he's like, what the fuck is going on here? He's like, who ruined my bath? That's actually why he's upset. He doesn't care that Logan and Pharaoh are there. He doesn't care what happened. He's just like, my bath is ruined.
Yeah. He surveys the scene. He's like, what the fuck? And then Vitari repeats the whole, hey, you're coming with us thing. But this time she's not as sure of herself because it's like this old man's buck-ass naked. and then it's like at this point, one of the practicals takes a step towards Baez. But you know what? That was it. Like he said, his patience is at an end. And then there's like a bit of a squelching, and then that practical explodes all over the room and on Giselle.
And everyone's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and then Baez basically is like, you were saying, and the practicals peace out. They're like, fuck this, we're out. And then Baez is like, that's it, we're gonna leave right meow. And you know, and Baez, you know, like he looks like he's in pain by doing that. The art, we talked about this, and he tells Longfoot to help Logan. And Longfoot, you know, he kneels down, tears off his shirt for a bandage to like start a bandage, and he just like, where do I start? There's so many wounds here. And then Giselle's just stunned. He's just like immobile because he never saw anyone die, and his first death that he witnessed was someone was exploding.
Yeah, that is pretty fucking rough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's rough. It is rough, but at least he's
It won't
still
be the last time, buddy.
and he's still alive though, right? That's important for Giselle. At least he's still alive. So that was the Bloody Nine. What are your notes? What are your thoughts?
Go ahead, Jeff.
You already know what I'm gonna do, right? Giving it a 9 out of 9 fingers. Bam!
If you guys couldn't tell by Jeff's excitement on this chapter, and the entire time he's like, it is his favorite chapter.
Nuts.
Maybe one of the favorites in the whole series. I would think.
Maybe one of them, because just the whole build up, the unmasking of the Bloody Nine, like, oh, so it's not like, because people have talked about this on Reddit, online everywhere, but the whole thing where it's like throughout the entirety of the book, you're seeing from Logan's perspective that people hate him, people fear him, but it's like he's such a nice guy. He's so he's intelligent as intelligent as he can be. He's empathetic. He's this and that, but then it doesn't make sense why people be afraid of him. But now we like, oh, this is why, because he's got some demon thing. He's got something going on.
Yeah, it's a little bit more than just a heavy temper, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, and then I like how, we all know, like everyone knows by this point that Coming Quietly is in Pharaoh's style. She has the endurance of like 10 Olympian marathoners. Longfoot was over here being a college bro. He's like, hey, they might be banging, So it's just, I just love this chapter. It's a 9 out of 9 for me. It's the Bloody Nine. The Bloody Nine needs 9 fingers.
I mean, I'm going to have to give him the same score. It's got to be exactly like 9 out of 9. It's got to be. Mm-hmm. This is like the introduction of one of the most interesting parts of these books, I think, which is Logan's sort of his struggle, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
like you said, like all the characters are great. There's this great chase scene that's got lots of comedy in it. There's this really good fight scenes, and we see different parts of Joe's sort of combat writing, where you've got the fast bits, and we've got the slow bits, and the really intense parts. And then it all bounces well off each other, and then we've got that cutting back between that and Giselle moping.
I love those they're very good. Like they break the tension, I love it.
Yeah, and I especially love the bit where he's like, well, at least he knew it couldn't get any worse, and it just cuts to Logan being smacked the shit out of with a stick. And it's like,
yeah.
So yeah,
go ahead.
Brilliant.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's awesome. Harrison, what were you gonna say? I guess it's your turn.
Yeah, I mean, guys, come on. I'm not an idiot. I may be a contrarian, but
not an idiot.
It's a 9 out of 9.
That's it. It's a trifecta.
I think this is the. I think overall the Blade itself. We'll get into the overall book rating next week, but I think overall the Blade itself is definitely one of his weaker books. But this chapter and a couple of the other chapters, like this one, I think is one of the best small scale action scenes in the entire series. It's so well paced, it's so well written, very descriptive, it's very brutal, and there is so many comedic moments. It's very well balanced, and for an action chapter especially, I think it's just like one of the best in the entire series. So yeah, 9 out of 9 for the same reasons you guys all said. It's done really well. And I think this chapter as well, whenever we get to this point, the first time you're reading, you're like, oh, this is like the climax of the book. It's the taste of, there's more out there than we're seeing. It's the first time that we really realize that the characters that we know, other than Giselle, they have more going on than what we originally have seen them. It's not just that Logan is a barbarian guy who has got, a rough past. Like, there's something else going on, whether, we explore that later on. And there's a lot of speculation on what exactly is happening with this, but it just adds so much mystery to it. We see Baez just, murder somebody, and he walks step straight forward. But that's pretty rough for someone who just took a step forward.
Yeah, it's really rough. I mean, the guy's just doing his job.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So it's like we get to see that element there. We get to see, even though Brother Longfoot is such a minor character here, I like how he's like able to discern just by looking at Giselle, like, oh, you must be bothered about a woman. I like that little element there.
Yeah.
And of course, Pharaoh. She has this moment where she is not just about herself, and she does help Logan
Yeah.
twice
Yeah.
because he helped her. And it's a very good action climax at the end of the book, and it opens up the doors for the rest of the series. I think.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Bloody Nine. We hope you enjoyed that. We'll be moving on to our character spot now. Guys, who is it?
Fucking stone shitter!
Of course.
I've been looking forward to saying that line the entire first book.
Oh man. Yeah, Harrison has been waiting for 2 months now, or how long it's been to say stone shitter.
I've had to cut that out several times when we've been doing the episode.
Yeah.
I just get excited. I'm like, yeah, fucking stone shitter.
Calm down. Not yet.
I remember the first time I hit that line in the book. I just started busting up laughing because it's so, like you said, it's ridiculous sounding. George, like they're like, I'm gonna kill you, and he's like, you're not the Bloody Nine. He's like, yes I am. And he's like, well I'm the stone splitter. He's like, but more like fucking stone shitter. It's just like a pointless insult. It's like children yelling at each other, and it's hilarious and fitting, and it's great. I just love that line.
Mm-hmm.
But the character itself, he's he's just another Northman, of course. But I kind of like that. There's like this subtle little moment where he's like offended that this random Northman would claim that he is the Bloody Nine. There's no way. Like, that's insulting. And I like that he's got that little bit of character. It could have just been he walks in there, he's like, hey, I'm a Northman too. Let's duel. Instead, it was like it pissed him off that, Logan would even pretend to be the Bloody Nine.
How dare
it's
he?
impossible.
Right.
And who knows? Maybe Stone Shitter was a up in the north, and he fought with Bethod and the Bloody Nine at one point, and he he respects him or whatever. I don't know. I just like that even though that's very little there and not too long in the character spot, I like that even such a minor character like that has a bit of flavor.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was, I thought the same thing, that he was stunned that someone would claim to be the Bloody Nine, because in the North, the Bloody Nine's the boogeyman. He's the story you tell your children. You freak people out, but you don't see the Bloody Nine. At least it's gotten to that point because Logan, remember, was exiled from Bethod for 5 years? So he's the boogeyman, and now he's saying, I'm the Bloody Nine. Stone Shitter is like, no way, how dare you? You son of a bitch. He probably has people that he lost to the Bloody Nine. Maybe, you never know.
That was a good point. Yeah.
So,
it's kind of sad. It's almost, you could, as George always likes to make it. George, how could this be tragic?
What do you mean?
Like, you're always like, you're like, it's actually tragic.
So yeah, Stone Shitter is the most tragic character in the First Law, because he went away on campaign, and when he came back, his entire family had been murdered by the Bloody Nine. And so he goes to seek his fortunes in the Union, joins the Inquisition, meets Goyle at some point, and he's found a new purpose in life, and then Logan just murders him.
Oh, that's your headcanon, huh?
Yeah, that's it. That's the way it works out.
That's exactly something you would say, though. It's perfect.
That's great.
It's all about perspective,
Yeah.
Gotta have perspective. All right. Well, is there anything else on the character spot you guys want to cover, or you think that's good, and his rearranged face can rest easily?
It's funny that he's sort of set up as like especially the three practicals are set up as like this really intimidating, really like like basically like the final boss of the book. And Logan dispatches all of them within like half a page.
Yeah,
in various gory ways.
Mm-hmm. It looks like Vitar is the only one that makes it out alive. So
it definitely looks like that.
Yeah, because she followed them to the quarters later on, but she was limping and everything.
And another thing I just want to add before the end is I really feel sorry for that random practical that got exploded.
Yeah,
he
might have just been trying
his job.
He's just doing his job. He's trying to
know
put
he was
food on the
get
table.
Exploded that day.
Although, why would you take a step towards a naked old man who, like, just sopping wet? I don't know, man. But
don't you guys
pretty
know
sus.
That's Practical Frost's.
It's pretty sus.
That's Practical Frost's brother. What are you talking about, guys?
That's who?
That's Practical Frost's brother.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's why Frost is like even more quiet in the next. I can't fucking. I can't. That's his son. Damn it.
That's it. That's it. It's gonna turn into a shit show. That was our character.
It's not, guys. It's not, guys. It's just like poor Practical.
Poor Practical. All right, that's our character spot. Now we'll move on to our community interaction segment. You guys want to take this one too?
Yeah. So we put up a poll as we've been doing. This time we did favorite non-POV characters round 1. We're going to be doing quite a few rounds. I'll try to keep it more what is the term? Themed next time. Next week we're going to see kind of more of the Northman side, and we'll kind of just take it from there. And this is non-POV characters, period. So, and spoilers. We got to say spoilers.
Do you want to start that one again, or do we want to? Do you want me to just do that in post?
Yeah, like I don't know if George, did you hear what I did in the last episode? I basically recorded myself, like I split it a little bit, added some space.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so if you want to just do that. Okay. So continue.
So next week we'll do the Northmen, or more of the Northmen. But this is non-POV characters, period. So if there's even one scene where they have a POV,
they're disqualified.
No, they're disqualified. So no Carlet Dan Ida, and because I know she seems like she doesn't have a POV, but she does have a POV at Red Country. So there's multiple characters that have tiny small POVs, and the whole point of it is to kind of see how much we like these characters that don't even have their own point of view, and we don't even get in their heads, but we learn so much about them, and they have so much flavor without them even being like considered a quote unquote main character. And I think that's really awesome that Joe was able to do that. So in this week, it was Artie West, Scale, Practical Frost, Practical Severod, and May Broad. And then also I put down other for people to comment and stuff. And thank you, everyone who participated, because holy crap, this is the biggest poll we've done, which we did not realize it was going to be that way. We got 1,000 votes, 1,100 votes on this particular one, which is crazy. Artie has 515 votes, Scale has 43, May has 23, and Practical Frost and Severod went back and forth competing for that second spot. With 221 votes for Practical Frost and 245 votes for Practical Severod. So it was kind of funny because sometimes Frost was winning and then sometimes Severod was winning. So I like how people were like conflicted. They're like, oh, I don't know which one's better. I don't know. But in terms of comments, there were some really interesting ones. Some people were saying, to be clear, not a big deal. We know that some people just, enjoy reading the series, but Friendly has a POV. He's a main POV inside of Best Served Cold, and a lot of people said Friendly. But it's not a big deal. It just was like, why is Friendly on here? I was like confused. But there were some really interesting comments. Somebody's talked about how May Broad should have been a POV, and they would have appreciated her to have been more in the story.
But it would have been better than her father. Fucking Christ, what a boring. Sorry.
Oh. Got some hatred.
Not hatred, just I just did not enjoy reading his chapters. First one, I was like, okay, all right. After that, I was just like, is there variety? What's going on here? So, yeah, not a fan of Gunner. Sorry, not a fan of Gunner.
We'll get to Gunner. I think you'll like him when we all read it together.
Nah.
Yeah, there's loads of great suggestions, like some I didn't even think about, to be honest. Some of them I've completely forgotten about, like, and when we were talking about non-POV characters, you have certain ones in mind, especially the ones that you put, but the people that keep saying Black Dow, and it's like, yeah, we know we're gonna get to Black Dow, don't worry about that.
I put it on there, like there's only so many names I can put in the poll, right? So it says I put in the poll, please to God, there's no need to comment the big names because we will get to them. And people still put Black Dow. I'm like, guys, I understand. They're like, oh, maybe he doesn't know about Black Dow. I get that. But also, it's Black Dow, guys. So I'm going to do him next week because I don't want everybody to keep commenting Black Dow.
Awesome. Yeah, do that.
But you guys have anything else to add to that, other than the fact that it is interesting to see how people thought about everybody? We kind of knew that Artie West was going to win, but it was interesting to see how close Practical Frost and Severod was in votes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very disappointed that Practical Frost didn't win out of those two, but and I'm really surprised at the 43 people that want Scale's opinion on these things, and I genuinely don't know why.
I put Scale on there, as to kind of fill it out and show some difference, and Scale is a non-POV character in quite a few of the scenes and books and stuff, but I mean, he's better than May Broad. What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Who likes Scale more than Artie? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
There's 43 of them.
43 misogynists.
Oh,
no, I'm just kidding.
Now we're gonna get canceled.
Okay. George, you could take that out.
Nah.
I'm just messing with you, bro. I'm messing with you, bro.
Everyone has their preferences. Who cares? But I mean, I don't know. Like Scale just. There's nothing interesting about him in the trilogy, and then in the Heroes is where he.
Really?
I didn't think he's interesting in the trilogy, the first one.
Oh no, you're right.
No, but then the Heroes, and then the Age of Madness. Sure, I can see it. So I don't know. Scale's just always like whatever with me.
He's like Gunner, right?
Nah, he's better than Gunner. He's better than Gunner.
Damn.
I would rather have read Scale's point of views than Gunner. Jesus Christ. Take off your glasses one more time, you fucking asshole. I swear to God.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So I'm good. It's good to have a routine. Okay.
The only other thing I want to say is that obviously this is round one, so it's going to be kind of a championship style, right? We're going to have all these characters, depending how many rounds we have, and at the end, we will, have the winners square off against each other and see who the true favorite non-POV character is. And it'll be, I think it'll be interesting to see.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who people really like, especially when we get to the really big names like Black Dow and Baez and Arnie. So, thank you everybody for participating, and we look forward to seeing everyone's opinions next week as well.
Awesome. That's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. This is a passion project for the three of us, as you know, and your support really does mean a lot.
Join us next week as we cover the tools we have and a spoiler-free review of the blade itself.
And make sure you check out all of our social media on Instagram, Twitter, on Reddit, and make sure you check out the website. It is circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use. Please make sure to rate and review this podcast as it helps to spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening.
What the fuck is this?